to request to sir, can you just brief out about yourself? Let's start the webinar. Thank you.
Okay, I've got 26 year of experience plus, 26 year plus experience, 10 years in defense, and the rest of the things is 16 plus in corporate. I'm proud that I'm alumni of Science School Bijapur, KL Engineering College, Belgaum, from where I did my mechanical engineering. Then I did PGDM from Symbiosis. Then converted to marine engineering and electrical in Anish Shivaji. Then did my EMBA from IIM Lucknow, that's residential, and then finally I did my PhD from IIT Mumbai. That is my regarding my this one qualifications. Apart from that, there are a lot of certifications I think I've just put there, and only one highlighting I would like to highlight is at IEDPM, where it was 6 days in George Washington University and 1 day leadership training at NASA. And I also completed my Six Sigma Black Belt for operations. Then if I were to discuss about my profile with regards to corporates, it's basically program, project, portfolio, strategic management, business development, etc. Most of the things are both the green and brownfield. Presently, what I'm doing is I'm a CEO of a conglomerate called as Jalego with 11 verticals, which I'll be showing you again. And I have published approximately 6 papers. One is IETM. IETM is nothing but Interactive Electronic Technical Analysis, which was introduced with conception in India for Indian Navy by me. And in operations, there are other 5 papers, and one more I'm just submitting it right now. That's about me. I think you can close that slide. Yeah.
You can share your presentation.
Yeah, I'm just doing that. Okay. Again, good morning, everyone. Can you everyone see my slide?
Yes, sir.
I can. Okay, yes. That's good. I'll just run through one video before going into it. I think that sums up everything about supply chain management. Escape and do it. Screen sharing has stopped. Why? think this video, which is there, uh, it sums the whole supply chain. Am I right? Because this is what we are talking about is something which is called demystifying of supply chain. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. I'll just like to take you about our Jalay group in just a couple of minutes. So I think again I'll have to open it through Jalay group. Why I'm just talking about is, again, it's of 11 verticals, which has cooperatives, then multi-purpose, where again cooperatives are there, and like there are different sub verticals in that. That is, supermarkets and everything. Then we have got Jalay Education, where we have got 14 plus 1 institutes. 14 plus 1. Why? Because one institute is for special children's school, residential school. Others are from kindergarten till masters. It's all non-technical. Then we have got Magnum Tough, which is about industry for in a glass processing industry. Then we have got cinemas. Then we have got oilseeds growers cooperative societies, which is helping the farmers. Again, I'll not go into the depth. Then we are into real estates. Then into dairy, nothing but milk producers cooperative society. Then we have got a garment industry also. Then there's one more, which is called I just missed Sunfan, which is in solar of ours. So why I'm talking about this Jalay group is that presently I'm a CEO there, and you must be understanding what would be the supply chain issues we will be going through. So I'll just tell you how I'm going to go about. I'll just put it on presentation mode again. Just understanding the supply chain management, what it is. Most of you are aware of it, but I'll just speed up there. Then the studies, the bipolar studies which are there, that's a pragmatic way of doing any research, and where we found what are the actual things which needs to be done, and something which is breaking the present norms and all. And what are the challenges in supply chain? And after pandemic, I think there is something different which has happened. That's why I showed the video which affected the globally. How it has affected us, and how a normal or abnormal has become a new normal for us. Okay. Then concepts emerging, then startups. I've just skipped it off, and the questions to think. I have something. Then we'll go for the question answers. Okay. Well, there are many definitions, but one of the definitions which I have made myself is that meeting the requirement of end customer by integrating the value creator of the requirement initiated by the raw material producers. Now I'll just connect up with the same what our Mr. Jaishankar sir had told. That we have to connect up everywhere. That is the reason. And from end customer, means from the raw material producer till the end user, we can say, is very important. And what he talked about was nothing about dependency, that everyone cannot do everything. Then lifeline and integral part of every organization is the supply chain. That's why it's very critical for each organization. There are many startup critical issues which is not actually part, but in supply chain, it's very important. Then there are many strategies. Then integrating of technology and infrastructure and human mind is very necessary. When it is required is right time as required by the end user. Anything which we do in supply chain is very important that it reaches the end user in right time. I think SCM has evolved and it has seasoned through, but there are a lot of challenges yet, which we need to adapt to the requirement of the speed and the changing technologies. And SCM also, if I say like this, our plans are like this, but when reality, when try to execute it, it's this way. Then if you see supply chain management, I'll just take a few slides, which is just will be understood by everyone. That's from raw material to the customer. That's I always sum it up from 1 to 6. Then very important is that when we look at it, is whenever the material flow is there and fund flow has to happen parallelly. But what we see is that there is some breaks in both. Either material flow is not happening as per the fund flow, then there is a lot of issues which come up in the supply chain. So when we see the supply chain, other attributes, there are so many things which comes into picture, and it's depicted in a different way. So these are all attributes of supply chain again. I'm just taking through those things where, why it is very important and how dynamically these things keep on changing, because so many interdependency and dependency of each other are there directly or indirectly. Dependency is means directly and interdependency is means indirectly. Then now ERP is coming there. There's a supply chain management, but again, one more thing is coming is SCMS, supply chain management system, which needs to be understood properly, because as at present it is only adjacent, but some research is going on, integrating everything, which is known as integrated supply chain management system. Okay. Now, just understanding the channel members, which I've just put in a very high level way, which everyone knows. But again, I put it from raw material. All these people are very important because they are adding some value during the whole supply chain channel members who are there with respect to what we call as channel partners, and then levels in a different terminologies of management. Okay. Then again, with this, the logistic providers are very important, because this, whatever has been done wherever, it needs to be taken and delivered. Okay. Again, different way what I have put is intra and inter departments, which I think you people are aware. And if you want if any queries are there, you can just put it later and I'll address to that. But the things are, we have to look from two aspects. That is, one is inter and one is intra. And what the resonance which are happening is inter more rather than intra, because these things are, if they are not integrated properly, it affects the end consumer as well as all the channel partners in the channel. Okay. Now I'll directly come to the studies which was undertaken for this. Is that we had we just took a survey. Okay, the design was semi-structure interviews. Pilot sample was 15 and the final sample was 92. The unit analysis was operations practitioners, that is, who are in operations of supply chain plus others. And this study was undertaken from the perspective of projects, where big projects, where how it is affected and what is to be done for that. The objective was to identify the success criteria and factor influencing the operations success. So when we did that earlier, then we came to that. Pilot said that 55% they said only tangibles, and 45% said only intangibles. But finally, when we discussed about it and we told them what is tangible, what is intangible, which I'll cover later. What is tangible is nothing but your cost, scope, and other things, quality and all. Quality can be both tangible and intangible, but intangibles are those which is satisfaction and other things, leadership, which in future slides will come to know how they have defined these things or what is important for them. So it is very important that these two aspects have to be taken care in whole operations of supply chain. So these are the attributes which came out, I think. That is time, cost. When we had, put in a decreasing or increasing orders from right to left or left to right, what we see is that time, cost, trust, scope, all these things are coming into pictures, managers, leadership skills and everything. The one which are blue are tangibles, and maybe what, I'm not sure how it is being seen, it's approximately amber type of color, which is nothing but intangibles, what we have put. And this was taken off total score of 5 and then averaged it out. After finding out what are the tangible and intangibles, how they are affecting, then we had taken care of, we had validated or we had checked properly through a multiple bipolar cases, I would say that. That is what we had done. 5 cases we had undertaken. And in that 5 cases, 2 were successful, 2 were unsuccessful failures, I would say, and 1 was perceived successful, which I'll explain you why it was. I'll just run through 1 case in detail, and then I'll just push on to the rest of the cases and come to the analysis. Why? Because time limits is there, and I would appreciate those interactive session with respect to the question answers. What we had done was we had considered in a very macro way the channel members who are available there, and we had put their attributes of how many years they are into shipbuilding, what is that OEM, whether they are new entrant and all. The scope remained same. for most of the people. It means two bipolar cases, that is failure and success, and the other one was different case again. These are all in marine industries, just for your information, but the context is same with respect to supply chain or operations in the industries. When we had taken up this organization structure and management, this is very important, that how organization structure is there in an organization, and how it's how dynamically and properly it is all the processes are happening there with respect to the flow of decision, with respect to the interaction of each other and all. So that is very important. But when we can see here, the decisions were being centrally put on to the team members who are actually fully involved in the operations or the projects of the project. Okay. Now, when we see the average scores, they were more focused on cost and scope. That's why their intangibles were very less. If you can see the spread, it is totally different here. And when we did the whole case study on that, then we could find that the operation manager skills were less, and at a junior level, the motivation was low, communication was very less and informal. So that's where what we saw was informal or the intangibles which are there are not properly addressed, because they had a weak matrix, and the way the organization structure and operations were happening, or with respect to the decision flow and the interaction or collaborative approach, is not proper. So when we see the tangible impact, the cost, it was 23% cost overrun by the OEM, and scope and quality, 5 major changes in the scope and quality issues, but were nil. But schedule was 4 months delay, and for the operation, and totally 8 months for the last 3 ship sets. Human resource and financials were very poor there, and high attrition was there with respect to the human resource. So similarly, in the case B also, we had done that, and when looking at the organization structure and the dynamics, how it is working, so decision flow was happening in a very proper way, and to all other team members. So this helped in different aspects of intangibles and tangibles. Okay, that is, they're more focusing on the time and quality. Let me tell you why it is time and quality. Is they're more focused on the, I would say, end user's objective and customer's objective. And with respect to that, if once they are doing this way, then the spread of their intangibles was much better in the spider web, and this helped a lot to them. But I'll come to the analysis later. Similarly, the case C was also like that, and when we saw the organization's management, the decision flow was in a very different way and all, and was like this, which shows totally different, where spread is less. The analysis of these things, the data, I'm coming into the last again, where we can understand why it has been put like that. Okay, and in the similarly the case D, when we checked it, how it was that we have compared bipolar in the sense cases are same, only one attribute is changing, so that the if we I understand you must have understood about if you change a lot of variables, it becomes complicated. So only one variable was changed and checked and all. So the project remained same, only the who is operating, and one part in this was changed, and then it was checked how they are behaving and who is creating the issues and all with respect to the channel members. So in this, if you see how the decision flow was happening, we can see it's a participative way, and who are the team members, how it was being done and all. So, and when we see at the spread again, it's a totally different spread to which respect to its counter case of case C. So, and this is a case C where after doing the bipolar cases, we went to one more case to check whether all the data information what we have received is correct, and it is validated through one more case. But when we came to this case again, it was slightly different, and the dynamics were also different. Initially, the organization structure was different, but they changed it in due course of time. That was good that, once if you understand that your organization structure is not working with respect to tangibility or intangibility, then you need to change it very early so that, the control system is ensured for your objectives of maybe projects or operations or whatever it is which is related to your vision mission of the company. So the average scores, again, here it was like this. They were more interested, more focused on time and quality, and the spread was very good. Now I just want to focus on this slide. Why? Because this is a summing up of all the cases. Case A and case C are the failures where, they had focused more on cost and scope, which, created a lot of issues with respect to the intangibilities. And where, with respect to their contrary same type of similar type of projects, same scope, same everything, except for the customer were different. So the spread was good. They were focusing more on quality and time, and it was in line with what was the requirement of the end customers, and I would say that end users, apart from the customer, because they're slightly different than the channel partners. Then these two cases, B and D, were successful with regards to, the objective set of, cost, scope, quality, and all, as per the triangle, iron triangle, what they call, or the objectives of any company of making revenues and profits. So these two, case B and case D, were successful. Apart from that, case E was also successful, but why it was called perceived success? Because there was a timeline, there was a delay in timeline, there was change in the scope also, but that was agreed upon. And since the technology changes with respect to time, and when we are doing any type of big operations or in a projects, you come to know that, if the technology has changed, you have to change the scope, and then you have to go ahead. That's why when the objective was achieved, the most of the project participants had conveyed that it is a successful, and it was accepted by the management also. Now, if you see the scores of that, it's nothing but differently I put it here. If the spread is less, your success or the is totally different, how it is impacting and all. So you should understand that, just focusing as per the paradigm which is there presently, no, you should, even though today everybody in supply chain management, supply chain channel partners are focusing more on cost, only cost and scope, so that, cost is enhanced. It creates a problem. They compromise with respect to sometimes the time and quality for these things, a short-sightedness, what we call, and it affects in the long term, not only the organization, but their top and bottom revenues, I would say. One is revenues and one is profits. Okay. So when we analyze this cases, this, focusing only on cost has a negative impact, and focusing on objective, time, and quality has a positive impact. That's what we could see there. Flexibility in scope has a positive impact. This is actually against the paradigm what it is there. They say you should not have scope creep, no gold plating and everything. But if it is resolving our end user's requirement, it is helping him, we should go for that. In the cases that I've shown that, they have changed the revenues to higher level also. They have given extra money in terms of the perceived success. When we had gone to them saying that there was a mistake, and then we ensured that higher norms of marine pollution certificates, I would say that, MARPOL it's called as, when we had given to them, it had a very good effect and a positive impact on that. And they gave more than the, I would say that, purchase order value. They increased it by 5%, which normally doesn't happen without asking. Then contract formulations, actually, how do you define the contract? It sets the initial things for everyone. Everyone in the sense, this basically the adjacent partners, that how we are doing your contract formulation. It is the first instance during the procurement stage, I would say that contract formulation happens. and that defines your subsequent steps, and it helps in a lot of other things, that is collaborative, cooperative and collaborative approach, healthy environment and everything. When we saw the type of contract did not influence the operation performance, which is slightly contrary to what the norms are. But yes, in some cases, the type of contract influences, but if the type of contract is written, but if you change it or have flexibility, that what we call as plus or minus in terms of scope, plus or minus in terms of cost incurred, check sheets which are there, it will help you to understand your channel partners and go along with the objectives. So here, when we looked at it, the type of contract did not have much influence. Coming to typology, typology is nothing but how you classify your say operations or your projects or anything which in the your organization, that A level, B level, C level, like that. But it was not seen. Typology, many are not aware of it. That's the reason. But typology is very important because based on that, risk mitigation and everything can be done, and it helps a lot for a better operation performance. One more thing which was shown here was that efficacy in the SCM, that is supply chain management, the way from raw material producer till the end user defines the degree of success. So when we looked at the environment, dealing with unknowns, knowns, unknown unknowns, there are two types, that is known unknowns or unknown unknowns. In terms of operation management or project management, it is defined like that. But it's nothing but how do you define the risk for which is known and what's not known, uncertainty and everything. And the other thing which came out was that the way you resolve the issues is very important, because that defines the healthiness of the whole system between adjacent partners of the channel members. I would say that channel members I showed you there in a macro level, where from raw material producer till end user, which is happening. Okay. And the participative way was the best method. Internally, it was found that organization structures plays a very important role, and it should be ensured that it is defined appropriately as per the organization, and there is no, I would say, one solution for everyone. It has to be as per the organizations and their operations or bigger projects, what they are taking. Project organization structure can be sub part of the organization or the operation management. This responsibility, authority, and accountability should be coupled with empowerment. If that is not done, then there's no point of having organization structure. That's why organization structure is defined as intangible and intangible also. Okay. Then operation management traits are very important, because he's the most of the time decision maker who is interacting with everyone and ensuring that things are controlled at all levels. So these traits are very important. And team cohesiveness plays vital role. Again, in this team cohesiveness, operation management is also there, and that's how it's supplementary to each other. Now, I saw that SCM is also coming for the green procurements and all. It has been defined in a lot of literatures also. Ecological, somehow many people are not addressing it till last 2 years. Now it's coming up like it's booming now, I would say that. But what is happening is it is becoming secondary. There is in research papers also, they have told about LCCs, life cycle costing and life cycle analysis, which tells about what are the factors that needs to be considered for environment. I would say ecological environment here is slightly different with respect to that. That's why I say ecology, which is very important, where we talk about green SCM, all those things, where you have to see that environment is not affected of our globe. The learning was, from these things was that objective integration is very important. That is, your vision mission has to be integrated with your objectives, and this needs to be integrated with all the channel partners also. Then stakeholder satisfaction is very important, from end user, customer, OEM, vendor, sub-vendors, operation teams. We just talk about customer satisfaction, not the stakeholder satisfaction, whether it is internal, external. So that is very critical. Then schedule. Schedule is very important in all aspects, because the time lost cannot be gained in any type of environment, whether it's operations, whether projects, whether it is program, or whatever it is, this is very critical because this defines the success of all types of domains across the industries. So we have to understand this, and the main contractor who is there, he looks into it so that he is more pressurized for all the 360 side, I would say, to ensure that it happens. But it is very important that he is doing it for the end user also, because if main contractor can do it in time, but it is not addressing the other stakeholders' requirements, then it becomes a problem. So everyone should understand why the time is very important. Cost, yes, it is important because everybody is in business, so it should be ensured that the profits and other things has to be shared in apportioning of their value additions. And if you see why this triangle is like that, the cost I put down because other things are more important than cost, but cost is also important. Why? Because we are into business. But if we try to take others' pie, then it becomes imbalance. That's where I said that material flow and fund flow should happen in time and appropriately, so that risks are shared by everyone. Okay, so learnings, what I can tell you about from this is that formulation of success criteria is very important. Objective and stakeholder integration should be there. Identified our operational cost, schedule and stakeholder satisfaction. Now coming to what the tangibles, what they wanted was, and what is important as a success factors, or cost, time, and organization structure. Okay. Intangibles, it came out as organization structure with respect to empowerment, decision flow, then operation manager skills. Communication also came out, was very critical aspect of ensuring that all are integrated properly and collaborative and cooperative approaches happen through communication. And informal type of communication was informed by most of the participants, approximately 111 were there, and they said that during informal conversation they come out and a lot of things are resolved. So this, though it is not there in our academic or theory practice, that informal communication, but that is very important, and it should be taken, or it should be imbibed and put in the process also, that like we make event management and all those things, it should be slightly like golf course, where a lot of decisions can take place informal way, and parties and all, but it should not go overboard. That's the only thing. Then trust came out, a very critical part of the success factors in terms of intangibles, but intent part of trust was very important. Intent in the sense, okay, we trust each other, but if intent is not there to resolve the problem, but doesn't make sense. So the intent attribute of trust came out very well. I would put it this way, in a hard way or harsh way. Soft skills, what we talk about, it can only help once or twice, but the intent of your supervisor or the top management and all is very critical. Though the soft skills may not be good, or one time you may feel hurt about it, but if you come to know that he is going to help you, but is harsh, the people go to them. That's how it came out. So, one of the issues which came out was, the success of the things depends upon the personality related issues management stated by the operation managers. In the sense, what we call about, positive attitude, negative attitude, a team member, non-team member, all those things. These are nothing but your personality related issues which create conflicts and all. And most of the operation managers deal with the human resource issues rather than the functional issues. I would not say that human resource issues are not a functional issues, but functional issues are those which are adding value for the objectives. This becomes a subset for him. The organization culture and all should take care of these things automatically, where there's a special department and specific people are appointed in the organization. Is nothing but HR department, or they are called in a different way now. Talent management are there. Then integrating system they are calling now. A lot of things are there for them. They're all nothing but management jargons which are there. But the intent is that those departments should take care for the soft or hard aspects of everything, rather than the operation managers. Learnings were that correct fit organization structure leads to better decision and flow of and build trust. Success be measured using the objective criteria. Intangible factors act as a catalyst to the operation success. operational channel partners willing to incorporate intangible factors in the operation system. Once they were aware how it is going to affect them and other things. So it was very important from perspective of supply chain. Supply chain is nothing but I am talking about these channel partners who are there in operations. If they are ready to participate in your vision and mission, it's nothing but a very good success for you people and everyone for the organization, so that they get integrated. There's something which came out in one of the case, that is, I call it as leaping beyond the vision. Why? Because their vision was only for one segment, but somehow after doing a successful project, they got another segment and all, which was beyond their vision. So I call it as leaping beyond the vision. Then flexibility in scope and time, if our objectives can be achieved, is very important. And I'm telling from supply chain management perspective also, if that needs flexibility is required, we have to take care of it. If something has to be stopped for additional time, which can help you to for a better objective or a higher objective, then we should do that. I'll just give an example, like in defense, if the defense project goes for a long time, and if the technology has changed and new technology has come and you have to stop some consignments in the supply chain, you stop it, give extra additional money, change that to a new technology, so that your actual objective of strategic requirements are met. So that's how I'll put it for those things. And holistic approach is very important and all, so which we have discussed. Intangible based management methodology increases the effectiveness of operation participants. This is critical. Why? Because the methodology what we are doing today is more of putting pressures and all those things, but intangible based what we talked about is very critical. So that team, what we call of team building, team efforts, focusing, converging of the efforts, is through the intangible based management methodology. Then integration of channel partners will reduce the communication gaps. That's why I show it like this. The relation presently in the channel partners, what I talked about, is like this. In the supply chain, we are integrated with adjacent people or adjacent channel partners, but it should be done across from sub vendor to end users, so that everybody is aware at a time. If any change has to happen, early stages should be communicated to sub vendor. Otherwise, what happens is it is coming till here, and then you want to change it. If he's not aware of anything, then you loses time, money, and everything, and time loss cannot be gained. So if you are integrated, anything what end user wants can be communicated fast. And most issues what happen in present scenario is communication gaps with respect to the information flow. Okay. So anyway, challenges what the face was documentation. Documentation, pull and push sales strategy for forecasting, management staff ability, SCM, not engineer choice, but MBS management choice. Okay. Integration of channel partners is critical, what we have seen, but it is not happening because of some of other issues. What they think is that what we call in marketing strategy is that upgrading ourselves or upstreaming, downstreaming, integrating upstream or downstream. So that happens, and there is a fear that my vendor should not become my competitor. That is the reason integrating becomes slightly difficult, but it has been achieved in couple of cases and it can be done. In SCM, ethics quotient and corruption is very high. That has come out, and that is a big challenge that needs to be addressed. Just yesterday, I was discussing with the owner of 16,000 crores company. He was telling about this only, that in SCM, he's a CPRO or Chief Procurement Officer. It's nothing but Chief SCM Officer for the whole organization of 16,000 crores. He was saying that this is one of the things which is prevalent in SCM and needs to be somehow addressed drastically. Forecasting of demands and supply is the biggest problem, and that's where most of the error happens. Communication, we have discussed that. I'll not stress upon that. Speed versus growth. The things are changing so fast, and the management wants very high speed, but the growth which the organization is happening, it doesn't match. And that's where a lot of conflicts happen or resonance happens intra-system, organization system, I could call it. Then these are one of the things which is zero error syndrome, which is everybody knows about it. which cannot be addressed, but needs to be addressed in cases where the management has this problem. And yes, sir, okay, sir, is also a big problem. Myth with regards to risk, what we call is unknown knowns, transfer it, unknown, budget it. These are something different and is wrong. Whole management theory say that you transfer the risk. Are you sure that you are transferring risk to your, the channel member adjacent to you? No, you cannot do that. It will become bigger problem, come back to you. That too, if you are a OEM, then you are giving to vendor. Vendor doesn't take risk, he accommodates risk in a different way. It will snowball to yourself later. So it's a myth that you can transfer those risks and all those things. But there are some methods which has to be done. But the way it is used in a corporate world is totally wrong. That needs to be understood. Unknown, budget it. Money cannot buy your time. There are some things where, money can buy it and you can budget it, but everything cannot be budgeted with regards to unknown. You have to address as and when it comes, and it is nothing called as SI, what I call situational intelligence, where, leadership comes to picture. HR is facing a lot of problem with regards to, training and development, scheduling, with regards to all this internal stakeholders, and then retention is a problem for them, which has come out. And one of the things which SCM saw the biggest problem in the world was nothing our pandemic, Corona. New abnormal is now new normal, we can call it. So, but what are the challenges which we faced? That was nothing but funds, frontline manpower, blue collar were very important. Infrastructures like data centers, online teamworks were very critical, which I'll tell you what are the things which happened. That is, during infrastructure, why I just took data centers and online teamwork is because, data centers were the critical where during this period where, we have gone to IoT and, AI type of level. In SCMs also, most of the things are dependent upon your online things and data centric. So data centers were very critical during that time, and managing that was Herculean tasks. But still, humans have ensured that these things were addressed properly during Corona also. When we saw the leadership traits during Corona, it shifted from top management to ground teams. The ground teams which were there, they addressed most of our problems during Corona. Okay. Then hoarding of raw material was one of the challenges which happened, and mechanical and electrical engineering firms, everything were affected most, apart from, but somehow we could manage with our, I would say that medical industry or pharma industry, which helped us what we saw there. And India did a very good job in that. Environment, we discussed about it, external and internal, we are very much affected. Unethical activities were so much which came out. No sir shift in paradigm. Earlier we would see that everybody used to say yes sir, but during Corona, the lower management started understanding where to say yes or no. And they said because of not only their pressure what was coming on them, their health and other things, and they were critical fighting force on the ground for everyone. I would not get into this because we already discussed what are the problems and all those things, and this were again prevalent during the Corona, and this was very much issue. Why I'm taking the Corona issues in SCM, because that has changed our whole paradigm with respect to normal to abnormal, which has become normal, which is going to become normal now, in a hybrid way. We are going in a way where most efficient way is coming out with respect to earlier normal versus abnormal during Corona, which has got combined into hybrid type of normal. Okay. That time I would just touch upon SCM failed miserably, and somehow we tried to touch upon a lot of things. We saw patients dying and everything, resource, equipments, everything was a problem for us, infrastructure. But the best way what could come out was India, which addressed properly because of our leaderships. No, I'm not justifying anybody's actions, but with respect to the data, India's data were very good. Again, you must have heard about the video again where Jay Shankar has said that he had the app but whereas his son in US had a paper. So it shows how we have advanced with respect to the global power, US also. Dependency, which was one of the things which came out, has now become a critical thing, and where we have started to think of Atmanirbhar is nothing but self-made is very much important during such crisis, and that only helps every country. But it is not that we can do everything, but we have to be supportive to each other, where Mr. Jaishankar sir had told about it. Others, what I can say that, this was, I'll just touch upon that domestic labor always from the outside and local boundary. Most of the states face this problem was that, many people who had come from out of state had left that state, and, people had to work themselves, and it created a vacuum. And so during that period, now they have to ensure that, at least some mix should be there with respect to the local versus, outside state resources, because it has to be a right mix. Yes, cost and other things. Many people, try to see that the people who come from outside are paid less and the inside people are paid more, like that. So, but you have to have a right mix with respect to their productivity, their availability, and everything. So, another thing which came out was the locals, when they want to take, they lack the job skills. This mattered a lot that time. Yeah. And now that is where, skill development, everything, most of the institutes have come out, and they are trying to address the vacuum which is there. And after Corona, most of the corporates think that, not only think, it's experienced that the skill level has gone down, and skill level has to be increased for corporate readiness and right adaptability to the organization within short period, so that they can start, producing the productive requirements or the deliveries as per the organization for their own, let's say that, subculture. What is there? I know that I think it's 11:50, right? I think I'll just try to go fast. Others are, we had a lot of problems, but we responded in a better way. There are the examples which are there, which we have seen it, and we are aware of it. But what I would say that, one of the things which are there, you can see that, human resources is nothing but intangibles requirement of SCM. Enhancement of infrastructure was necessary, and a lot of things are happening now and needs to be addressed. Now, everything what we are talking about is, slightly out of context for the requirement of SCM, because if we address all these things, then only your cost effectiveness, productivity, integration of the new technologies will happen. Then one of the things which came out was the responsibility towards society and ecology should be there. Innovative approach, what we call disruptors and a lot of other things keep coming up, but we have to ensure that it's for the society and for the humanity. And that's the way we have to put it. But since we are in a business, we have to ensure that, the margins and all are there, but at a reasonable cost. The one of the thing which came out was, blue versus white versus pink was the issues. Now we have to address it in a different way. It has to be a right mix. There are many people who are only giving orders and all, talking about decisions and everything, but decision making was not happening, and there are less people who are working down below here, that is blue and pink. And now it has to be a right mix. Working team should be bigger rather than, talking teams, or, giving just decisions to everyone, but implementing execution is key now. So these have to be increased rather than, white collared. Here both have to be increased with the right mix. What we call in a pyramid is very necessary. As we go top, less people should be there. And just what I talked about was that, inter and intra integration is nothing but, integration should happen within the organization, but it should happen across the organization also in SCM. Okay. So the new concept, supply chain management system, which is coming up, where we are just doing a slight pilot on it, where we have to integrate everyone so that, time is not lost, communication is proper. What happens is, most of us are aware that, ground reality versus, what we talk in boardroom. There's a lot of gap. Most of the people must be saying that. So that needs to be reduced also. These are the practical things. Okay. So that's how we have to look at it. And what is there is that material quality and documentation has to flow in one direction, and funds and trust should flow in the other way. So that needs to be changed like that. Then I'll just touch upon saying SCM system. They say that most sophisticated way. Why demystifying? I chose this topic was, we talk a lot of, management jargons with respect to SCM and all. I could have put it in a function of customer, then a derivative of a customer, integration of, a vendor, then metrics of a supply chain providers, like that. But making a complicated way is totally different. When somebody can show that by this way also we can do it, it's amazing. Now these two examples are also why I've taken is that, no operation model or any mathematical model cannot show all these things with respect to any sigma. So this needs to be very understood. This is also a supply chain management for different things. This needs to be understood, and concepts should be taken from there, and it should be, implied or executed. Our plan should take care of a lot of things, but and the reality, in the sense, I would not say it will be a straight line. There will be a lot of problems. So we have to just reduce it. Okay. So this is where I would like people to focus on a lot of things, but you should not keep on wasting time. That's why I say that paralysis by analysis. You keep analyzing only, but not executing it. You have to optimize it and ensure that you understand that. Again, we'll talk about supply chain management. The lady who is there, she's giving idlis for 1 rupee. Everybody knows about it. How is she doing it? And what about the supply chain management of other big companies where they're just increasing the I would say that channel members, channel this one and all with respect to that. So we have to ensure that those things are reduced, and we should take example of these guys how they're managing it. Okay. Now coming back to this, it's nothing but we have to have what I told leaping beyond the vision. We have to take decisions in a supply chain management. R&D center was started immediately in 3 days. This is where the decision making is very important in supply chain, and we could produce many people for industry. So that's how it is. The concepts which are emerging are nothing but IoT, which is there, and that needs to be integrated. It's in still a formative stage, I would say, for the supply chain management system. It's 50% ready, I would say that. Then we are talking about AI also, but I'm not getting into those things because I just want to push up these things, because our India and all, we have to see that how we are going to match these things with respect to AI. But again, I just want to touch based upon AI versus RI and SI. It's nothing but AI should be a decision-making enabler, not decision-making tool. That's why real intelligence and situational intelligence, which combines to human intelligence, that is very important. Okay, so we have to touch base upon that. Now, I'll just give some questions for you people to think in future, and then I'll go for the QA session. One is that, who is the best driver, Schumacher or ambulance driver, or Flamer liquid anchor driver? Best chef, is it your mother, Sanjeev Kapoor, or your favorite dhaba? Then coming back to next is the best leaders. I will not put a choice there. Passion alignment for self, friend, or society. You should look into it. Startups, whether it's for money, fame, and society. And one quote which I just put for everyone is that donating the earned money from others neither justify compensation nor the leader at any level, as fats etc. of being charged to a consumer or society is unjustifiable. Okay. So thank you. I think I just rushed upon a few of the slides, but I would give it to Ria back for QA sessions or anything for discussions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for a very informative session. I hope all the participants got it very